already
They have two, but they're going to give up. I think they'd be willing to give up the rest of their team. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Targeting Podcast. Please like and subscribe to the video. Jerry here. Boys, how are we doing today?
We're doing wonderful.
Absolutely great, man.
All right. Glad we're all doing well. We got a busy week of sports. We're going to talk primarily about the NBA today because there's a lot of NBA news going on. We'll cover NFL and NHL if we can. If not, we'll kind of bump that to next week. We got a lot of NBA stuff to talk about. So right now, let's just kind of like an overview of the draft. Boys, what were some of your favorite picks or some shocks to you in the NBA draft?
I gotta grab my jersey.
I thought the top three went exactly how I thought it was going to go, and I know me and you had predicted that, Jerry, earlier. But Patrick Williams going at 4 is kind of wild.
Yep.
We'll see if it ends up working out. He's definitely a project. Dame's going to be a Charlotte Hornet guy now. But yeah, no, it was a fun draft to watch for sure.
I think I didn't know very many of these players going here. You know, I'm not a big college basketball guy, but when I looked up the guys, especially the Celtics pick, because that's the one I primarily looked at, Aaron Nesmith looks like a dog.
Great player.
The guy that we need on the bench. You know, coming into.
I love the pick.
He seems like a scorer. He seems like again just a dog, like someone we need who's going to really carry the future Celtics. You know, with our already amazing first round picks that we already have on our team. I like that pick. And then I know I like it. And I know Justin likes Peyton Pritchard from Oregon.
Oh yeah.
I know
he
likes
man.
that one. So that guy looks like a dog as well. You don't see very many white guys dominating the league like this. So love to see that represented.
Damon, I can think I know what your favorite pick was, but
I'll talk about Melo real quick. Kemba going to the Celtics now. It brings me joy that we have Melo in Charlotte. I think he could really shine there, and we'll see how that goes. I feel like overall most of the players are where they should be. I didn't know much about many of the players, but after watching the draft, they give you little highlights, and it all seems like they fit for the teams that they got drafted to. But I mean, there's been a lot of crazy trades and everything, so we'll see how all that goes. But it was a entertaining draft, gotta say.
Yeah, I think kind of what Justin said. My kind of the craziest thing I saw was Pat Will at 4. Was not expecting that at all. I thought the Bulls were going to go for Denny, or if they weren't going to go for Denny, they were going to go for, I don't know, but
somebody earlier on the draft board. Yeah.
So I was shocked, but I think this draft was special in the not obviously because it was virtual, but also just because I think that there was a lot of players where they went in the draft, it wasn't really predicted. I looked at Justin, I know you did too. Looked at a lot of mocks, and a lot of the guys that were projected second round went first. Peyton Pritchard to name one of them. So I think that was definitely interesting for this draft. One question I do have for you guys. Do you think, and this is more of a broad question, but do you think it takes away from these players' moments? Obviously, it probably didn't for them, but do you guys think it takes away a little bit from the moment when this when their introduction to the NBA is virtual? Do you think that takes away a little bit from kind of the whole NBA draft scene? John, you can go first.
I think with anything, if we relate it back to our graduation, I think that's a huge moment for us. It's kind of what this is for them. You're not just graduating college, or some of these guys are not even graduating college. They're bumping right up to the league. So this is kind of that big moment in your life. One guy was crying. I forget who it was. They had it on one of the sports accounts for
a lot of players were very emotional.
Yeah. But there was one who I liked what he said. This is the biggest moment in his whole entire life. I think that a great thing that was done is those little locker boxes. You got a hat from each team, and then you obviously get the hat from the team that you get picked by, which is special. You get your own personal thing, which I think is something that needs to be done for players like this, because it's such an important moment for you. The smallest thing that can go forward that can maybe fix it, is there. I think ultimately, though, the big moment is just being drafted. You know, I think that's for some of these guys the big moment. So it doesn't really take away too much from it. I think it's something that they wouldn't prefer, but I think that ultimately right now what they're looking at is more of just, how am I going to dominate the league? How am I going to contribute to the team? That's it.
But if you think back to our graduation, we haven't had the experience of another graduation. So this moment's still going to be special regardless of what it's actually like, because that's what we know. So I think it's
True.
special in its own way, to be honest. I mean, they're probably the only class that's going to have to go through this. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. They still seem to have friends and family around.
Yeah, it's obviously not ideal, but it's what you got to do. And I think the NBA, as always, did a good job with it. And Adam Silver continues to just be great.
Yeah, they did do a great job. And I agree with all you. I don't think it really took away from the moment. I think just by the reactions of the players that you saw, definitely just made it kind of seem like the moment was still there, and it didn't really take away from anything. It might have even been kind of better, kind of unique in that sense. So, yeah, but there's been a ton of just regular free agency news going on this week, so we'll kind of get into that. The first is the Suns trade. Chris Paul is headed to the Phoenix Suns with Devin Booker. That trade was for originally for Ricky Rubio, Kelly Oubre, Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCue, and a 22 first-round draft pick.
A lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. But now Kelly Oubre is going to the Warriors for a protected top 20 protected draft pick. So let's start with the original trade.
And Rubio is off to the Timberwolves.
And Rubio's off to Timberwolves. So let's start with the original Suns trade. So Justin, we can start with you. Do you think who won this trade for you?
I think it's a lot for Chris Paul at his age for the contract that he's on. I think that's a lot to give up a lot of young pieces and also a first-round pick. I thought they were going to dish Rubio and keep Oubre, because Oubre and Shea could have been a nice young core to work with. I don't really know why they were so quick to move Oubre and for a protected pick at that. So I don't know. At this point, who won it? It's basically Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCue, and some firsts. So, I mean, they got multiple picks for an old Chris Paul. I guess that's the win right there. They got a good amount of picks, and the Thunder, just the number of picks that they have is insane after all the trades they've made. So I think it's gonna be fun to see CP3 in Phoenix for about a year, but then I don't really know what he gets after that. But you got to keep Devin Booker in Phoenix, so you got to do what you got to do.
Fair
We
enough.
bring this back to playoff talk. Do you think they'll be in the playoffs this year, the Suns?
I think
Isn't that a team that was on the fence for most of you?
I agree with Justin. You're giving up a lot for a guy who's already aging. I think the one that hits for them and is going to probably hurt a little bit is Kelly Oubre. Really like that. Really liked his performance. I thought he played really well. I had him on my fantasy team when we had that going, and he performed better than I thought. I thought he was a late round pick for me. I didn't think he was going to perform. He put up 20 some nights or more. He had a really good season last season. I think that one's going to hurt because him and Booker I thought was pretty lethal. But, I saw Chris Paul and Booker already getting out onto it on the court in the video on Instagram. So I already like the mentality there, just putting in the work already, getting ready for this upcoming season. So I'm, if you're a team like the Suns who just misses the playoffs last season and you want to start fresh and keep your young Devin Booker and try and put some veteran around him, I think it'll be interesting to see how this works out for the Suns and an already competitive West, really.
Yeah. I think to Damon's point, I think they could get. Originally, I was like no, because the Warriors, I thought were gonna make the playoffs this year, but that's looking less and less likely now that Clay is out.
Clay's out.
So, in terms of them making the playoffs, I think they probably can. Chris Paul, I think, is a good player. I just didn't like this trade because Chris Paul's an older guy. I don't think he's going to provide that much value. He did ball out last season, but I just think there's a lot of guys that were on there. Kelly Oubre, Jalen LeCue, even Ricky Rubio, I still like, and he's still a good player. So I think that's a tough trade, but
Book's gonna have a veteran to look up to, really.
Yeah, but I don't even think
Yeah,
we need that at this point. I think Devin Booker is still as an established guy. He's obviously not a veteran, but I don't think they really need that on their roster. But
I'm interested to see where this goes, but I am. This is a trade that if I'm looking at it and I'm the guy that has to decide it, I'm not going to be the one that pushes that button and sends it through. Because giving up
for
Thunder are
which
gonna-
side?
what'd you say?
If you're Phoenix, you're saying you wouldn't go ahead and do it,
I wouldn't be sending away.
or if you're okay, say you wouldn't
Yeah,
do it.
if I'm Phoenix, I just Ricky Rubio again, another great player like Jerry
Yeah,
said.
it's a lot.
But for me, the Kelly Oubre one is the one that probably hurts this the most. I feel like you're giving up a lot of value there. The other guys right there all combined seem like, Ty Jerome. I don't know Jalen. The pick makes sense. Oubre to me is very. I mean, I understand you got to kind of level it out, but it seems like they're not going to get as much return on it for me.
I think the Thunder won
Yeah,
this trade
and
100%.
yeah,
I don't think they're.
I think so. I think to answer your question, Damon, from a few minutes ago, I think like they're in a position where they kind of have to make an 8 seed because this is Chris Paul. You traded picks and young assets for a very old point guard. So it doesn't do any good to just sit on him for a few seasons and build the right team. Like they have to go for that to try and win now at this point.
Oh, they have to.
You're going
They
to
have
run out
to
of
make-
Chris Paul very soon.
They have
I
to make
think-
more than
I
eight
think
seed.
it
They
was-
got to do something.
It was very dumb of the Suns to do. Very dumb.
I mean, it might not be because the Suns might get the 8 seed or the 7 seed or the 6 seed and win a first round matchup somehow and go on a little bit of run. And then even if you do lose in the second round or whatever, it was worth it because you just wanted to get your guys some playoff experience. Anything like that, or even if you
That's
lose in
all
the
you
first
want.
round, it's fine.
How long do you think Chris Paul's going to still be in the league?
One more season, maybe. No, I don't mean that. He'll be in the league for more than one more season.
like,
but
how-
as far as
it-
like a star
but-
caliber point guard, one more season,
Yeah.
maybe two.
Okay.
Maybe
So do you think it was worth giving up all those guys
Jerry's favorite
For-
question here.
for one? No, I'm serious.
No.
Like,
I know.
Well,
No,
Kelly
I-
Oubre. You go ahead,
Yeah, you
John.
go. No, I was just gonna say I don't.
All right.
It's.
Sorry. No, if you have something to say, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, like, I know in the beginning, like, I'm interested to see where this goes. I am, because Chris Paul, I think, like you said, he's got 1 or 2 more seasons left in him. Personally, I think this is a very tough front office call because you're giving up a lot of young guys, like you said. And now that I keep thinking about it, you're in a very competitive West, which we had a very tough time talking about the other day.
Yeah.
The Warriors don't look like they're making it. Maybe, I don't know, but that doesn't do much
That's
good when you already have all these other great teams. And I agree with you. If they get some experience for Booker in the playoffs after, out of the first or second round, hopefully that'll be a benefit there. But if the season after that, they don't do anything other than just helping Booker, I think that this just kind of hurts them in the end.
they gave
Yeah.
up so much. So much.
It's definitely a good amount. But Rubio is just a freaking Walmart Chris Paul. Let's be real.
Oof. You didn't have to do
Oubre. So they didn't have Oubre the entire bubble. So that was harsh on Rubio. I feel bad. Oubre, they didn't have him in the bubble, so the Suns got used to winning without him, and he was already sort of the one that was like that odd man out all offseason so far. Like it was speculated pretty heavily that he was going to get moved. Ty Jerome is fine. Jalen McHugh can jump out of the gym, but he might never develop into what he can be. And throwing on the extra, it's a lot. But if you can get Devin Booker some help and let him see the playoffs for the first time, I think that's a win.
I don't think that trade's worth it. But we got so much to go through. So let's just go to the next one. So Robert Covington to Portland for the 2020 first round pick and a 2021 protected first pick, and for Trevor Ariza. Justin, do you think this was a good trade for either team?
Yeah, I think that's a great trade for the Blazers. Robert Covington is like the perfect 3-and-D guy, and they were like a high seed in the West when they had like Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless, the wing defenders, playing with them, and they lost them both this year and were one of the worst defenses in all of basketball. Robert Covington is just an ideal 3-and-D guy. He'll fit in nicely, and they gave up some picks, but it's all right. They're not trying to develop young guys right now. They're trying to win now. So I like the pick for both sides, honestly.
A pretty fair trade, and overall, I think both teams will benefit in their own ways from that. All right, and then Drew Holiday to the Bucks for Eric Bledsoe and George Hill in 3 first-round picks.
This was also kind of wild.
All that's going to the Pelicans.
John or
Sure.
Damon, you want to go?
Connor Damon.
This
I think.
is wow. That's a big trade right there. I think that's that's a little surprising for me. Just seeing, for the Bucks, they're giving up 2 players they've had there for a while. I think Drew Holiday's a great player though, and I think that when you look at it leveling out, I mean, Drew Holiday is definitely worth that. I think when you look at him, I think any team would have loved to have Drew Holiday. I'm interested to see how that works out with Giannis, in the Bucks, because Giannis, we saw struggled this last postseason, and honestly, I'd say overall struggling because he hasn't really made that big playoff run. I would say he hasn't really chased that ring, and it's a tough West. It's tough in both areas, but I think that Drew Holiday definitely puts some competition there on the team and helps them. But definitely surprising for me to see that happen for the Bucks at least.
I think generally like it's a good trade just because I think if you're the Bucks, you're gonna want to try to make a run. So getting a
I'm
guy,
just surprised
like
they gave
those
up
big
Bledsoe.
trades.
I'm just surprised because I just never saw
getting a
this
guy,
trade
but
coming.
it makes sense though, just because
For basketball, I love these big trades.
Eric
It makes
Bledsoe-
sense. No, it does because you want to go all in like the Bucks did with
Absolutely,
Brady. You
but-
want to go all in. To
Yeah,
try
Eric
and get there.
Bledsoe and George Hill are kind of just like point guards. Like they're not like anything special. Like if you're trying to like,
I was not surprised. I'm not surprised with the 3 picks at all.
what the Bucks are trying to do, it makes sense. You want a guy like Drew Holiday
Totally.
to play a
It-
little.
You're
It
trying
was
to
a
go all in with what you got because you want to make that playoff run for the East. Because right now, last season, when you
Yeah.
look at what they played, I mean, the 76ers underperformed, and we'll get to them too because they're making moves, and the Bucks underperformed. Both these teams are teams that just really gave us the hardest competition the Celtics saw in the East. And right now, the Celtics, the Heat, is another story. But right now, the Celtics, with these moves, will probably see some competition because these teams got to go all in if they want to start back over again to where they were.
The only thing
Yeah,
I
I
was
think that-
go ahead, Justin.
You go ahead, Jared. You go
Sure.
ahead. All right.
You're-
The only thing I'll say about that really is I agree with all you, and I think that Drew Holiday is going to be huge for that Bucks team to finally move on from Eric Bledsoe. When last offseason they had the choice between Eric Bledsoe and Malcolm Brogdon, and they went with Bledsoe, and that was just a horrific decision. They could finally make up for that and bring in Drew Holiday to run their guard spot. I think it's nice. You got to give up 3 first-round picks, but whatever. Those first-round picks, as long as Giannis is there, are going to be like 28 to 30. You'll be all right losing those. You get a guy that's going to really make you a strong contender. You already are, but he just adds to that. And they got to keep Middleton as well, obviously. So that's a nice little big 3 there. I think it's a good trade for both sides. For the Pelicans, though, now they have a 4 point guard lineup of Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, Kyra Lewis, and Lonzo Ball. They got to move. They got to move some of those before the season starts. You can't be sharing PT with 4 point guards. And I like Kyra Lewis too. So
I think. Go ahead,
You
go ahead,
go.
David.
You're gonna go before I forget. You go.
I think generally, I think the Pelicans, what they should do, what's in their best interest, is to get more picks. That personally for me, just because I feel like you're not gonna get. I don't think they're gonna be.
Just gave away 3 of them for Drew Holiday.
Well, I don't think they're gonna be in the playoffs anytime soon. At
Right.
least not with these guys. So I think if you can stack up your picks for future years, and kind of just get to rebuild, kind of get a solid core again, I think that'd be good for them. But
That's why it's a win-win for both teams. Because even if the Pelicans do bad, they're gonna get new picks, which they kind of need anyway, as you were saying, and
Right.
it gives the Bucks a real chance.
No, I think it was a nice. I think it was a nice trade. Again, it's surprising to me, but I'm definitely. I mean, I don't like to see the Bucks making moves like this because there are competition. But if you're looking at this from an outside perspective, that's a great move for the Bucks, trying to go all in for a great player that they need. Because again, I don't think the Pelicans. I mean, Drew Holiday's a great player, but the Pelicans, like you said, need more picks, younger guys. They just need to kind of rebuild that. And Drew Holiday, I think, needs a team that's going to get him somewhere. And he deserves to be on a team like the Bucks with Giannis and making it to the playoffs every season.
yeah,
definitely. All right. Well, we'll move on to the next one. So the next one's, in my opinion, the biggest news.
It doesn't surprise me.
James Harden declines his 2-year, $103 million extension.
It doesn't surprise me. I don't think.
Guys, what do we think about this? That's a lot of money that he's giving up. But what's Harden's angle here?
I think
John, go
oh,
for it.
All right.
Yeah.
I think Harden's angle is he wants in my opinion, again, just looking at this from an outside perspective, I think he just wants in. He just wants a new slate. I think he wants in with a team. Again, he's a big ball handler, and I think it's going to be tough if he went to the Nets with KD and Kyrie. Would be interesting to see that, though. But I think he wants – again, I saw multiple sources talking about the 76ers were looking at him. And, I think he wants to go there. Again, the 76ers, again, we're getting there. They've made a lot of moves already, so I don't know how he'll fit in there. But I think he wants a team – I mean, it just goes to show. I don't think he really is in it for the money because he could have $103 million right now for 2 more years. I think he wants a ring. That's just from what I'm seeing from this on the surface. He wants a ring because any guy on his right mind would take that money and just stay in the air for another 2 years and then just wait for the next deal. This guy wants a ring, though, and good for him because he's a great star player. I just don't know what team's going to want him because, again, he's a big ball handler, and he likes the ball a lot, and I just am interested to see what team's going to offer that. Because that's a hell of a lot of money. But it goes to show that any team can offer him a certain amount, and he'll be willing to take it probably. So
Yeah.
it's just got to be the right team. So
Yeah, he's looking. It seems like he's looking to go to Philly or Brooklyn. Those are the two. And actually, the Rockets have said that they'd be okay with keeping Harden and Westbrook on the roster going into the year. So they might not get moved this offseason just because the market is small. They've said it themselves. There's not much of a market for either of these guys just because of the superstardom of James Harden and the 90% usage rate that he's been playing at for the past 3 years. And with Westbrook, just their crazy contract and crazy play style that really doesn't lead to winning. So both of them have a very small market. It's weird. You don't really know what the value is for either of them. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. What do you think Philly or Brooklyn would be the better fit, boys?
just right now with the way, I mean, I don't know what Philly's got, for them left right now. I mean, they're giving up some stuff for some pretty good players. We'll get to those picks.
I think it would have to be Ben or Joel, I think, right?
I think you got to
That's
give up
one of them.
someone, though, for Harden in the 76ers, and they've given up some small trades here
For Brooklyn.
compared to, like, giving up an Embiid or a Ben Simmons. They've given up some small trades for people like, we'll get to the Danny Green.
They made some nice moves.
And I like their moves. These ones I'm glad we save for last because I like the 76ers moves here.
Yeah.
I just don't know what they're going to give for Harden because he's still expensive. He's not going to be, I don't think, as expensive as the $103 million, but he's still going to be expensive.
So you know what?
So-
Actually, let me rephrase my question. I'm not gonna say Brooklyn or Philly because I think we can all agree Philly because I think Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant all trying to fight over the basketball would be.
Yes.
It'd be fun to watch, but
The only reason I'm thinking Philly is
That's
because the
crazy.
Nets is just it can't happen.
think
Kyrie's the ball
I don't
handler.
think it can happen.
KD is a ball handler, and James
Yeah.
would take the ball over both of them. They know that's not going to work. They have to know that.
That's just like a ball of snakes.
You
Like,
have
yeah,
to take.
We
You
can't
have to
deal
take.
with that. But
You have
if-
to take
if
Harden
it's
or get rid
Philly,
of.
right? So if it's Philly, would you think that Harden and Simmons would be a better duo, or Harden and Embiid?
I think
Um,
Harden and Embiid.
If you have to send one the other way,
I
Go ahead,
I
Dan.
hate to say it because I'm not a big Embiid fan, but Embiid does bring a little defense to the ball, especially just. I mean, he did
Simmons
probably,
does too. They're both like all NBA.
Simmons
defenders,
does. It's
yeah.
just here's the thing. Simmons is not the 3-point shooter. Harden is going to be, and I would rather see Embiid in the paint with Harden on the arc than Simmons in the paint with Harden on the arc. You know what I'm saying? Just a bigger body, and he's harder to guard. Not to say Ben Simmons isn't a dog out there because he is. I just think Embiid is just going to be more bang for your buck in that sense. You know what I mean?
I think the Sixers destroyed Ben Simmons in terms of, I think at one point Ben Simmons was like a post player, and you could see like early on, like he was more of a post guy. He wasn't really like a 3-point shooter. He almost played like how Embiid plays. But now I feel like he's so used to getting the ball that like to have a guy like Harden come in, that would just be such a culture shock that I don't think it would work. I think it would work so much better with Embiid, just because Embiid would be like, thank God I don't have to take 3-pointers anymore. He can just stick to post, playing defense, doing what he does best.
That's
It
a
might
great
even make
point.
it might even make the Sixers better in that sense, where you don't have to worry about like Simmons and Embiid and then just kind of stretching the floor. I mean, you always want to stretch the floor, but with the right guys. So I think Harden will do that. So if I'm the Sixers, I'm probably obviously gonna send Simmons, but I mean the Sixers
That's a really good point because
have messed shit up
when
before.
you're looking at the 76ers, the way they performed, Embiid blamed a lot of those playoffs on him. They didn't even have Ben Simmons. So even with Ben Simmons, I think they'd still be stretching themselves thin because Embiid was saying that it was all on him. He had to play more. But I mean, I don't like Embiid, but that's tough for a guy to have to put the pressure on himself to not only play in the paint, but on the arc and put the whole game on his back because he didn't have much to work with against the Celtics team that just played phenomenally.
With that being said, though, I do think Harden wants to go to Brooklyn. I don't think you. I don't.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I think that's more just because
He
of
wants
like
to create that
that's
super
more of just because of the big three. Like if you look at the big three, but if you look at this logically, he's not going to fit in that
yeah,
system.
but who's looking at this logically? Like, if
Well, I know that he wants a
was-
ring, but I
yeah,
think his
well,
better chances of a
I'm
ring are going to
him-
be with the 76ers. I
if
mean,
I'm
look who they brought in. Let's get back to who they brought in.
Yeah, all right. You want to talk about that? Unless Damon, you have something. You seem like you're trying to get words in. Okay.
Like, look who they brought in, Jerry. I mean,
So they shipped out Al Horford and the 34th pick, which ended up being Theo Maledon, and a future first for Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson from the Thunder. So
I don't know.
getting out of Al Horford's contract is huge with 3 full seasons left at $28-30 million on there. Wow, that's huge. And they have to give up Theo Maledon and one other pick. So
I say
that's a
that's
good move for
I say
them.
that's a great move. Al Horford's agent, anyways, and you're gonna Danny Green, great player. I don't know much about Terrence Ferguson. I'm sure
I don't
Justin
know.
can talk more about that, but
I don't know why anyone in their right mind would want Al Horford at this point in his career, but I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
and
I
then
know. So it looks like the Thunder will probably have to move Steven Adams because Al Horford and Steven Adams playing on the floor together. I don't ever want to see that ever.
How the hell would you,
Please.
who would you rather have, Steven Adams or Al Horford? To me, it's Steven Adams all day, personally.
It's
but
Steven Adams right now. Yeah, he's younger. Yeah.
it's
But I
dumb.
love Al, and I do think Al could be kind of nice. Al and Shea together. That's some high IQ minds out there.
I think
such a
That only goes so far.
I
feel
think
like
it's
that's such a weird
interesting
thing.
moves though by the 76ers. I think with Danny Green, Embiid, and if you get Harden, I won't even put Harris in the picture because Harris didn't really even do that much. I think that's a good. I think that's a good.
He's a max player, but
I
you're
know
right,
he's a
does
max
not
player,
do
but he
it.
doesn't do. I think though Danny Green, Embiid, and Harden. I think the big ones there are Embiid and Harden, but I think even Danny Green brings something to the table. Like
Well, Harden's not there. Harden isn't there.
No,
yet.
he's
That's-
not there.
that's
I'm
the
just
cool
assuming. I'm assuming he is there.
I think Harden goes.
Even with Ben Simmons, I think even with Ben Simmons, this team looks a little stronger now having Danny Green on the court.
And all right, and so this other move is Seth Curry is in Philly now for Josh Richardson and the 36th pick, which was Tyler Bay. Seth Curry in Philly is exactly what they needed. Like the biggest mistake was letting go of JJ Redick last year. They bring in Seth Curry, the league leader in 3-point percentage. Like that's actually lethal, and that makes me scared. In fact, that also makes me feel like you can make Simmons and Embiid work. You're bringing shooters around them. Danny Green's like a bump now, but he could shoot once upon a time. And Seth Curry is just knocked down. That's exciting for them. I'm as a Celtic fan, I don't like to see that, to be honest. That makes them
Again,
better
I think the 76ers have definitely made the most moves of any team, like strong moves with multiple
at the moment. Yeah,
at the moment.
seems,
And
yeah.
I think bringing in those guys, again, Harden remains to be seen. If he goes to the 76ers as a Celtics fan, I'm shitting my pants because now he's over here in the East with that team.
Yeah, I don't want him in the East at all.
But well, he's gonna be.
I think the Rockets keep him this year. I do think the Rockets keep him this year because he didn't put in a formal trade request.
But
here's the tough thing is that you're losing. You're definitely losing Russ. I think we agree. You're definitely losing Russ. I mean,
maybe not even this offseason.
Maybe not even
Nobody
this.
will
But
take
in
him.
the future, you're losing Russ.
Yeah.
And
Either.
Harden, you're potentially going to lose in the future. Maybe not this season, but you're losing those 2-star players. So the Rockets have to really get something out of this next season if they don't lose either one of them, and something when they do leave, because they're going to have to start from square one after that. Harden's the big one for me. Russ.
I think they tank. To be totally
I
honest.
think they're going to have to go through rebuild.
If Russ and Harden stay this season,
I know,
Harden will
but I'm
perform.
saying if Harden and Russ stay at the beginning of next season, which it's crazy to think that's going to be 2020, I think they're going to tank because they know they're gonna move him eventually, unless the Houston Rockets actually think they can keep them the whole season and keep them happy. But like, I just think
I don't think you're going to keep. I think Russ requested a trade. I don't think if you keep him,
Harden goes to Brooklyn.
I
don't
think
know.
Harden will still
I know you
perform
boys
if
don't
you
agree
keep
with
him,
me.
but I don't know if you can keep.
Where does
Russ
everyone
happy.
think Harden will go?
Harden's going to Brooklyn.
I don't
Well,
know
you're
about.
right first.
I understand the Brooklyn. I understand it,
You heard it here first.
and I don't want him to go to the
Before-
76ers. But right now, how does it make sense that you're gonna go to Brooklyn with Kyrie? See, if I
Doesn't
want
make
Harden,
sense.
if I want Harden, I'm giving up
Why he's gonna
Kyrie.
go?
If I want Harden, I'm giving up Kyrie.
No,
they don't give
it won't be that though. Like, so
They won't give up-
it would be their entire depth, everything they have. It'd be Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen. They won't have enough money to pay Joe Harris. Like, they'll lose everybody. It'll be just that big three with DeAndre Jordan playing center, and the next best player. Garrett Temple, I was about to say, but he just got waived. I don't know who the next best player is. That
I
team
think-
is disgusting. Outside of the big three, the big three might be enough to get you a ring. No cat, like I get that. That might be the best big three in history if that were to happen. With Kyrie being the third string of that, but
They
I
might.
think
I
the
they
can't
Nets-
see how that
literally-
works. How does that
I
win?
think-
How does
I
that win a
think the
championship?
Nets. I think the
they'll play
Nets'
'em.
best chance. No, the Nets' best chance is just to keep the team they have right now.
No.
I think they just have to. Yes, they have to keep the team right now. See what you can do with this season.
I like the depth that they have right now.
Brooklyn-
I do. I
Brooklyn's
get the. I
trying to
get the.
become the New York team, and the way you become the New York team is by getting stars there. So
Yes,
if
But they
they're-
have two.
They're not gonna- they already have.
They have two, but they're gonna give up. I think they'd be willing to give up the rest of their team.
I wouldn't give up depth for that though. You have a nice team around
Why?
you too.
What does that do to you? You need depth.
You have a nice. You
Who
have a
needs
nice
depth
duo.
in this
Stop,
league?
Jerry.
You need depth. Why on
You have
earth
a nice
would you
duo.
trade?
You have a nice duo around your depth. Okay. I would wait on the Harden. If Harden is going to stay in,
Harden is not who they need.
let's just say Harden stays with the Rockets. The
No,
Nets
well,
need to see. The Nets need to see what this team can do because you didn't even really see the potential of KD and Kyrie last season.
Sure. Okay.
You have to see what this team can do because Jared Allen's still good. You got Dinwiddie still. You got some depth there that can still work with the ball. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team. I'm not saying they're going to get a ring right away. I'm not saying they're going to be New York's team right away. But you can't just bring in Harden and get rid of your whole team and then just get. And I mean, sure, that's a great team.
Why can't they?
You
Why
probably could win a ring, but you're
why
looking
can't you?
long term right now. Long term, you need a team with depth.
It's not a long-term plan. I think that's what you got to realize.
If you're
It's gonna be like a one
you're-
season
you gotta-
type
it's-
of deal. Go
Then
ahead.
I wouldn't
even
do
if
that.
Harden comes in and still average, even if Harden comes in and still average 30 as a second option to KD, meaning Kyrie would take the third seat. You're talking about giving up Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie,
I
Jared Allen,
realize
Joe Harris.
who I'm giving
That's like
up.
even if
I'm
Harden
not saying
averages
I
30,
do my-
even if Harden averages 30, these guys are combined for 60, 70 a night.
I'm not
What are you
saying I
doing?
do it
He could
myself.
never be as good.
I'm not saying I do it myself. If I'm the Nets, no, I'm not doing that. But I think Brooklyn wants Harden there.
No, I think the best interest
I
for
think-
Brooklyn.
I thi-
I think the best interest for Brooklyn is Harden. I think I think the best interest for Brooklyn is not to have Harden. I think the best interest for the 76ers is to have him. I think that's like the best choice for all teams. All teams are happy in that scenario, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I
but you have to
agree
realize
with
that
that.
Kyrie and KD are gonna run that Brooklyn.
mean,
so if they want
no,
Harden there,
no,
they're
no.
gonna
Harden
get Harden there.
wants.
And
I
another
think
thing
the only
you
team
got to
that's losing
realize,
at this point, the only team that's losing at this point is the Rockets when they lose Harden, and the Brooklyn Nets if they get Harden. That's what you're losing.
Well,
another
that's not
thing you
necessarily. I
have to
mean,
realize-
it's possible that it works and they win a championship because that probably is the best big three as far as names go ever. It would be.
It's just I don't.
but
I see
It
that
might not work.
working.
Another
We've
thing you
seen
have to
Kyrie do
realize-
that and it doesn't work.
okay,
And
I don't
KD.
think-
KD's
I'm
been
not
on
saying it's
stacked
gonna
teams that
work.
didn't win.
I'm not saying if it's gonna work. I'm just saying it's probably gonna happen. And here's
And
why.
I don't want to fucking see it because I don't want to play that 4 times a year. So I hope it doesn't. Let's just say
I
that.
think it's gonna happen because you
Yeah.
you got to realize
What,
at the end of the
what
day,
directs you to
don't
think that's
need
going to
depth.
happen?
You don't need depth at the end of the day. You need players.
No, don't
No,
say
I'm saying you need depth. All right.
that.
I personally believe you need depth. I would much rather have a deep roster than just like a key.
I mean,
like-
we saw the Clippers with their deep roster got blown out of the water. So
It's also true. And I think in this
but the
league,
Heat with theirs got to the finals as a 4 seed.
yeah,
I
that's
would
true.
stack a team and have a little bit of depth, but
they're-
they're gonna
I think the
put
Nets
that
already
up.
have their
what I
stacked
think
team.
Brooklyn's
They're
gonna
duo.
do is they're gonna stack their team. Kyrie, Harden, KD, just interchangeably play them. Like Harden and KD, Harden and Kyrie, Kyrie and KD. they're just going to
I don't wanna fucking see
interchange them
that.
for
I just-
48 minutes.
I'm
Just
gonna
have
be
one
honest
of
with you.
them on the floor. Just to like kind of, it's just crisis management when they're
I
not.
think that's
all
going to
three
be
on.
real. I think that's going to be just like if that happens. Let's just say that happens. Okay, you may win a ring. I mean, that really is an unstoppable trio right there. I just think that's going to be a tough locker room situation.
Oh, I don't think.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
gonna work.
I think that's
don't
going to
think it's
be,
gonna
and
work.
I'm
just
telling you
saying-
right now, I know that you're saying that the Nets will probably do it. And if that's the case, that's the case. But I think if you're the Nets, you really got to think hard right now because you got to fairly, like right now with those two duos right now, you're already skating on a tough locker room situation, handling the ball and stuff, and you got a good team. But if you bring in Harden, you're really hurting that locker room situation, and you're going to have a lot of drama. And we saw drama with Kyrie in Boston without even having a huge big three kind of situation.
Yep.
You know, not shitting on Jalen or Jason. I mean, they're great players, but you don't have that big three scenario.
Well,
And
Kyrie didn't let them be great players.
and Kyrie didn't let them be. I just don't see. I may see Harden letting up the ball more than I would KD or Kyrie. So I just think it's in. I just feel like if I'm looking at Harden's perspective, maybe the Nets make this move, but
No, but Harden, none of them will want to give up the ball. They'll be fighting over the ball. Long story short, this
I
is just
know,
a
but
rumor. So
what I
if it
think,
happens,
yeah,
we'll.
this is just
I'm
rumors.
just
But what I
saying,
think
like,
with
no one
Harden,
thinks like that. Like
I know, but no,
at
what
their
I'm
level, at least.
well, if
more than
Harden is not thinking,
Mark.
if Harden should be what Harden should be thinking is, I want a ring and I want the ball and I want a team that's going to surround me with the ball, but also I can make moves with. And I think 76ers are the team. I just said you have Embiid in the
I
paint.
think
You
should
just
go
got
there,
Danny
but
Green
they're
and Seth
not
Curry.
thinking that way.
I know, but Harden should be thinking that way. How
He's
can he
not
not be
going
thinking that
to.
way? You're still going to get great money, and you probably can make a great playoff run.
Because you have to, okay, if you're gonna question Harden going to the Nets, then you have to question why Kyrie would want someone like KD. Because it's just a replay of the LeBron situation. It's everything he said he didn't want.
Yes, but it's not two LeBrons. You bring in a second guy, just
Okay,
them, just
you're
like
in-
that.
yeah, exactly.
That's
neither
the
here
difference.
nor there.
I think a
The
duo.
difference is being
I
a
think,
Robin or the fucking third, like being
I think
the
a
Robin who's
duo.
Batman, or
I
being
think
a
a
third
duo.
guy that nobody
Honestly,
knows about.
a duo is
I agree.
the
A
best
duo.
situation to control. A trio is just at least this trio
You
is
think
looking so.
Kyrie would end up being the person no one knows about on that team?
Obviously, they know about it because the rest of the team would be absolute
No, but like you
bums,
think
so
he's
it'd have to be just that
the one
third.
that ends up becoming irrelevant on that team?
Who?
Kyrie, if that team
He's the one that takes the third. Kevin Durant might be the best scorer of all
I think
time, and
Kyrie
James Harden
takes
might
the
be the
hit.
best scorer of all
Kyrie
time.
takes
But
the
who's
hit.
bringing up the ball?
Kyrie takes the hit.
Kyrie
Kyrie is not Kyrie of all those three players, in my opinion. I mean, it's tough to say. I just think Kyrie is definitely not giving up the ball. What he did in Boston, he's not giving up the ball. KD and Harden will give up the ball, but Kyrie is certainly not giving up the ball. I just don't see it working. I don't see it working.
We'll move on, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I just
We can, but actually, the last thing I will say, just while we've been talking about Philly, not about Harden, but I do think that bringing in Seth Curry, and they do have Danny Green now too, which like if he can shoot at all next season, then they get something out of him. That'd be nice. I think they're going to be better this year than they have been. They got rid of Horford. They're looking like they're making the right moves. They brought in Daryl Morey. They have a new coach, Docker. Like they're moving in the right direction for the first time in a long time. I do think the 76ers could be a threat next season, but we'll see. Klay Thompson tore his Achilles today, and I feel like we can't not mention it. And that's just so devastating. The league is so much better with the Splash Brothers in it. I just want to watch the Splash Brothers go nuts on a late game on a weeknight, just chilling. Like I just miss that so much, and it's not going to happen again next year. And Klay might not ever get back to what he was. So it hurts to think that we might have seen the end of the Splash Brothers, man. It really does. That's tragic.
And Achilles, especially for for anybody, but especially if you're a shooter like that, an Achilles injury is arguably one of the worst. It's a tough one to come back from.
Right off a torn ACL last year.
Right off a torn ACL. I mean, an ACL is tough, and I'm not saying no injuries are tough. I mean, concussions, all that, terrible. But Achilles, it's just such a fragile area of your body.
It's a bad one.
When you're a shooter going up like that and then having to come back down on your foot in the future, I don't know how that and an ACL is going to fare well for Klay, and that sucks because he's a great, phenomenal player. And
yeah,
I don't think the Warriors are going to be what they were.
I think it's tough. I want to see Klay and Steph out there. However, Warriors got Wiseman and Nico Mannion in the draft. So I'm
And they
not.
just got Kelly Oubre as well.
And they just got Kelly Oubre.
So they're making moves. They're making moves.
I don't think. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily they'll make. I don't know.
I think. Hey, I think
Uh,
Steph's gonna have an MVP year, and they are gonna make the playoffs.
I think they can make the playoffs still. I was doubting it when I heard the news, but you just added James Wiseman, who's a good center. They have Kelly Oubre now, which I didn't know as of today.
That's a great pickup.
And Nico Mannion, who I still think is a really good guard who's still underrated. So, I think that's a team that could potentially make the playoffs.
Tell you what, I'm really happy for them that they didn't trade out of this pick and did pick James Wiseman, because they're going to have plenty of time to develop him now, and they're going to need a lot out of him if they're going to be able to be a top 8 seed in the West. So I think that's great that they got him. They could do it. Like, it's not Steph Curry can do that shit. He can do
I
anything he
think-
wants.
If anybody's gonna do it, it's him.
If you
Facts.
get Clay back too in the future after you've developed Wiseman and Mannion, because I don't think Clay is gonna.
He might
Honestly, if
not
I'm
be an
Clay-
all-star
honestly-
again, but no matter what,
honestly,
he's
if
going to be
I'm
able
Clay-
to shoot the hell out of
I
it.
think
Honestly, if I'm
good.
Clay, I think obviously you're taking this whole year off. The next season, I might even go light, because with an Achilles, you don't want to just do something that's totally going to kick you out of the league for good. And I think if a year and a half, 2 years from now, whenever Clay is at his, again, not all-star, but even half of what he was, he'll still be a great, phenomenal player for the Warriors to have, especially around Wiseman, Mannion, who are just developed, and then you still have Steph, hopefully. And there'll probably be that playoff team. Again, not a first place, I don't think, depending on how the league looks, but definitely a high playoff team that can perform.
Definitely, yeah.
And all the best to Clay. I love the way he
Yeah.
plays. Sucks that happened, because honestly, Clay is one of the guys that I would love to watch play more than Steph. I'm sorry. I mean, Steph is just a great guy, but I like watching Clay. I like watching Clay.
Steph is the most fun player in history to watch, but the two of them is what's the most fun.
The two of them is fun.
But I'm
It's just
sorry, if I
that
have
when
to
you
take
don't
one,
have
I'm gonna take
Clay.
Steph
I mean,
over
I'm not
anyone in
saying
history.
you're just losing half of that whole
Still
entire.
be good. Still be good.
No,
You're losing
exactly.
half that Oreo that you don't want to lose.
Okay, so and then we already talked about it, but Kelly Oubre is traded to the Warriors for
Yeah.
2021 protected first round pick. I believe it was top 20, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, we've already kind of discussed this, but
Yeah, we definitely already hit on that, but definitely a nice
how do we
nice
think
trade
Oubre?
for them. You go ahead, Jeff.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ask you guys how do we think Oubre does on the Warriors? I mean, I think he'll personally do well just because now he's got. I mean, since Clay's injured, obviously no one wanted that to happen, but that kind of opens up the floor for him to kind of work when Curry's not shooting. So, anyone got thoughts on that though?
It's a good quick move by the Warriors.
Yeah, that's a great move by. I mean, I think any team picking up Kelly Oubre is going to help them if a team needs a player like that. And I think the Warriors are the team that need him, especially now. I think that's just great timing. I don't think they anticipated the Clay thing. With Clay on the team or not, I think that's a huge pickup. I think that's what they really need. And I think that's a big difference maker too with the playoff performance now that they don't have Clay, because you need another guy on that team
Wiseman.
besides Steph to help develop those two young guys, who I think are going to perform very well
I'm scared
in the
of
coming
Oubre,
years.
To be honest, in the coming years, Wiseman, Nico Mannion, and
I think they're going to perform very well. But again, you need that guy that's going to be on the court that can perform if they're just not having a great day and they're still learning the ins and outs. And Oubre has been that type of guy for the Suns before. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. I'd definitely like to see that with Steph and Oubre. I think that's a match made in heaven. And if
Definitely.
Clay comes back, oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, well then
The
we'll
Warriors
just
gonna be relying on Wiggs to have a good year.
definitely.
We'll see if he can do it. We'll see if he can do it.
We'll go to the last thing we kind of had for today. I mean, there was a ton of NBA news, but this is kind of the last thing we'll touch on. So Gordon Hayward opted out of his $34 million player option. That hits a little home for all of us. But guys, where do we think he's going, and how are the Celtics going to deal with this? Justin, just
So, I mean, first of all, if you told me a week or 2 or 3 ago that Gordon Hayward was opting out of this deal, I would literally laugh in your face. I can't believe he's turning down $34 million right now. He'll never get, at least I don't think he's going to get a deal anywhere close to that. There's been speculation that the Knicks are willing to go all in on him and give him quite the payday. And if that's the case, go ahead and get your bag, Gordo. I appreciate what you did here. I'm so sorry for the injury, and definitely don't blame him for that. But I don't think that's a good move for the Knicks. I know they have money to spend, but they should keep it for next offseason when it's Giannis and Kawhi and all that are free agents. So this is not a great draft class, a great free agency class, and paying Gordon Hayward $30 million a year for a multi-year deal is maybe not the best move. But if they want to do it, might as well. They're not paying anyone else right now. So
Honestly, kind of a
interesting.
kind of a.
I don't know.
I think
Really?
I'm kind of happy for the Celtics in this situation. I like Hayward, and I really wanted to see him perform with us. I think the injury kind of killed it for him. I think that was going to be his season. But you got to kind of look past this. We have so many first-round draft picks that we've had, not just including this season, and I'd like to get those guys in. We saw a little bit of Edwards, and we saw a little bit of Taco Fall. You like to see that. These guys develop. And $34 million is a hell of a lot. I don't think Hayward's worth it. So, yeah, I'm kind of with Justin on this one. That seems,
I think
again, not saying anything about his playing. You know, he's a great player. It's just that injury.
Yeah.
I don't know about it. He didn't
Yeah.
really. I mean, again, he was surrounded by a lot of talent on our team, so our team has to balance that ball out. But with the injury on top of that, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think anywhere he's worth that money. But I do think that if any front office is going to pay him that money, it will be New York.
It's the Knicks.
And I think New York's going to, honestly. They would do that. I think that's very, very dumb. But the Knicks have made dumb moves before, and I don't think they fail to amaze us in terms of.
Hey, they're just gonna keep being the Knicks at that point. So.
I mean, they got.
Hopefully he'll at least be a good mentor for RJ and Obi Toppin.
I mean, I like where the Knicks are headed. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like they've messed shit up before. I think they obviously the whole Kristaps thing, like that was great that they drafted him, but getting rid of him was probably one of the worst things they've done. So
they got DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, look at how Porzingis is playing.
Yeah,
right
that's
now
not.
With Luka.
I'm just-
Oh my
I know, I'm
God, that
completely
is a duo that you love to see.
It just feels
a
like
nice overseas duo.
they just always. I feel like they're always giving shit up and just never getting anything back. I mean,
In my opinion, that was one of their worst moves with the Porzingis.
I mean,
like that.
don't get me wrong. They can keep being bad. I just don't like how they're like the. I compare them. They're not the same because obviously New York's big market and this team small market. But I compare it to the Kings in the sense that they either destroy careers or they ship them off in time just so they can be good. So we'll see. But yeah, I think we'll probably wrap up there because we run out of time. We'll talk more NFL, NHL, and MLB next week. But boys,
definitely just an exciting NBA week, and more to come with free agency coming up in a few days. So
Everybody
have boys.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Definitely, everyone have a good.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And thanks for joining me tonight, boys. It's been nice. As always, you made it this far. Please like and subscribe.
It's always an honor and a
On
pleasure.
YouTube and Spotify. So if you can't watch us, listen to us. All right, boys.
Thanks.
I think that's a wrap.
Been real, boys. Peace.
Oh.
Peace.